Okay. Well, I believe I am going to just start us off here. And today, well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Michelle Prince. I am an assistant regional planner with the San Joaquin Council of Governments. We also go by SJCOG, and I am part of the public engagement team for our RTP SCS. And so the RTP SCS, that long acronym, is the Regional Transportation Plan / Sustainable Communities Strategy. So again, it's a lot to take in, but we are using this acronym RTP-SCS for short, and I'll be using that throughout the presentation. So today we're going to be talking about, what the RTP is doing in the San Joaquin region, some regional studies that are really exciting that we want to let the community know and hear comments on, and then how you can get involved as a community member. So we are using Zoom. And if you have any questions, please use the Zoom chat feature, and we will reserve all questions for the end of the webinar. So again, if something pops up, just type it in the chat room. One of our team members will be going through the questions, and so we'll be addressing them at the end. A little bit about SJCOG. We are a joint powers authority comprised of the County of San Joaquin, the cities of Stockton, Lodi, Manteca, Tracy, Ripon, Escalon, and Lathrop. Now, you might look at a joint powers authority and wonder, what is it? And so the technical definition is an entity permitted under the laws of some U.S. states whereby two or more public authorities, for example, local governments or utility or transport districts, not necessarily located in the same state, may jointly exercise any power common to all of them. That's a lot. That's a wordful. That is a Google definition, but I like to look at it in a more simple term, and so that's why I came up with the idea of think of a joint powers authority as the Avengers. Now, I do not have copyright to use Avenger clip art, so I found these little characters online. So basically, when you look at the Avengers, right? Each of the superheroes have their own skills and talents and abilities, and they're all shooting for one common goal. So that's how I would look at a joint powers authority and what we at SJCOG do, with our main role being to foster intergovernmental coordination within the San Joaquin County and with our neighboring jurisdictions, other regional agencies, and the San Joaquin Valley, the state of California, and various federal agencies. So again, we plan, we coordinate, we work together, we work with other local government and the public to make transportation innovations in San Joaquin County. I think keeps wanting to pause. So what is the RTP-SCS? Well, quite simply, whether you get around by car, transit, walk, or ride a bike, the plan works to connect the San Joaquin region over the next 20 years. Now, you might say, Michelle, I see all this transportation. Is the RTP's only focus transportation? And I would say no. Think about when you throw a rock into a pond, how it causes a ripple effect. And that's how I would look at transportation. It's not just one thing. It affects multiple areas of the community. For instance, our plan will encompass housing. Where is transportation located to where people live? What's the affordability of housing in the region? What are policies that we can enact that will support sustainable housing infrastructure? As well as we look at economy. Everybody has, I'm guessing, a phone near them, or even a mug, or your paper or pen. And how did it get there? How did your goods get to your house? And so we look at goods movement. We also look at where jobs are, where commuters are going, where they're coming in. I mean, over 86,000 people commute outside of San Joaquin County every day to their jobs. 7,000 come into San Joaquin County every day for their jobs. So we look at commute patterns and how can we support a thriving economy. We also look at technology. because you have to evolve as the community evolves, and what transportation technology can we implement. And sometimes people think of it as, there's the big transportation innovations, which are, think of like, let's say, forgot that future cartoon, but think of like a hovercraft, right? I guess that would be like a big technology innovation. But we also look at some of the smaller things. For example, right now we have COVID-19 is occurring and everybody is working from home. We're seeing how technology has advanced, the idea of working from home and how that's affecting commute patterns, and how it's connecting us to jobs maybe farther away outside of the county, and so on and so forth. We also assess climate, which is a key part of the SCS, in particular, the Sustainable Community Strategy, as we look at greenhouse gas emissions and cars and public transit and how that plays into climate impacts. And also neighborhood development. So when you walk around your neighborhood, what are things that make you feel connected to your neighborhood? What gets you to the park down the street? Is it the walking paths? Is it the biking paths? Is it the safety walking crosses that go there? So we look at how transportation can better, enhance communities as well, and create vibrant neighborhoods. So again, here's some general basics about the RTP SCS. It is required by federal and state law. It must be updated every 4 years, and it must cover a period not less than 20 years. And what in particular is the Sustainable Community Strategy part of the RTP? So the goal of the SCS came from SB 375 in 2008. And so this is something that's new-ish. The RTP has always been federally required, but the SCS is a newish requirement. And so the main goal is to reduce emissions and create sustainable futures. So this is something that I took out of our plan itself, that lays out the story of the SCS in particular. So, we look into policies and strategies, and even projects that will help promote the SCS and help reduce those emissions. But, you have to think of it as the ripple in the pond effect again. When it comes to the SCS, we have the greenhouse gas emissions reduction, but, there's how do we get to that, and how do we create more than outside of that? So we have supporting economic vitality, increasing safety and security, public health, active transportation, looking at public transit and roadway design and environmental impacts as well. So now that we've talked about what the RTP is, what the SCS is, I want to go into what regional studies are happening right now in San Joaquin County, that we're really excited about, and that are funded by Senate Bill 1, the transportation sales tax. So if you go to programs on our webpage, and go to RTP/Sustainable Community Strategy, on the left-hand side, there's toolbar for SB1 regional studies. And so once you get there, you can see all of the regional studies that we are doing currently right now, with the funding provided by SB1, and how this plays into our RTP SCS. So we have a lot going on right now, and I'm excited to share with you 3 studies in particular. So the first study is our community diversity and displacement study. So why is this study happening? Basically, what's the rhyme that I used? People go to the Bay, but they can't stay, meaning their housing prices are exceeding over $1 million in the Bay Area. And so it's the affordability is down, so people are working there, but they're living in San Joaquin County. So what that has caused is drastic shifts in population and thus affecting the median home price increases across the mega region. So we have, it's contributed to one of the highest county rates of median home price in San Joaquin County because of this. And we all have community members, as I said before, we have over 86,000 San Joaquin residents who commute on average daily to especially to the Bay Area. And so we are looking into how that is affecting our population and our housing and policies. And so what this study will do is look at the housing affordability and how improved transportation could impact that affordability. So there are always two sides to development. There is the one where, hey, we're improving transportation. We're bringing A, B, and C to the table, and we're excited about that. But also we have to look at the effects. What happens when we bring A, B, and C? It's going to attract more people to higher quality transit areas. And so if we attract more people, are we going to displace community members that are already there? So that's why we are developing a toolkit for the region and the counties and cities to help prevent against negative impacts related to improving transportation. That's just a little bit about that study. And moving on, we also have the Climate Adaptation and Resiliency Study. So why is this study happening? SJCOG wants to help San Joaquin residents or communities in facing environmental impacts brought by climate change. So what are environmental impacts? This could be drought, flood, fire, things associated with climate events. So what this study will do is assess vulnerable transportation infrastructure currently in San Joaquin County and develop a menu of strategies for the region and the county and cities to adapt and prepare for the future. We all know that sometimes environmental effects, come out of nowhere. They can take a community by surprise. And so we are hoping to create this study to help kind of begin that planning process, to say like, oh, maybe this bridge or this road needs to be more well maintained to handle increased water levels, something of that nature. So we're always looking ahead for climate events. The last study I will cover is the San Joaquin County Transportation Innovation Planning Study. So why is this study happening? Transportation infrastructure will need to grow as the county's population does. So if you think back to the slide about gentrification and displacement, how we are having more people come into the county to commute to their workplace in maybe the Bay Area. And so we're having more population increases in San Joaquin County. So we need a solid infrastructure to accommodate that growth. You think about it, more people on the road means more roadway damage, means more worsened air quality because you have higher amounts of emissions because people are, waiting in their car in traffic, and lower quality of life. I mean, I and the next person near me, when I'm commuting and I'm just waiting there, I'm not enjoying my best life waiting in traffic. So it's important to look ahead and see what transportation technology and innovations that can really help make significant and transformative impacts on the transportation system. So that's a little bit about why it's happening. We just want to see, like, as population shifts, as we evolve, how can we find technology that will best enhance and maintain our infrastructure. So basically what we will be doing is, again, finding what transportation innovations are best suited for San Joaquin County specifically. One shoe doesn't fit all. And so we're trying to figure out what is San Joaquin community, what are the needs, and how can we address it with technology advancement, and which one in particular is going to be the best size shoe. And so we will include strategies and policy framework, and also the cost of these innovative transportation options to see, again, which is our best fit. So you might saying, well, what are the transportation technologies currently available? Well, here are just some that we are looking at. We have autonomous vehicles, so self-driving cars, that they basically use a computerized grid to help drive around. So that is one form of technology that people are looking at, and not just autonomous vehicles, but autonomous electric vehicles as well to reduce emissions. And we have the Hyperloop is another, and Hyperloop is basically high-speed rail. So, this is Michelle's pulling out of my head example right now. Think of it as the ability to maybe get from San Joaquin County to LA in 2 hours, so high speed. That is the goal of the Hyperloop. We also have air taxis. So instead of congesting the roadway on the ground level, we would be traveling up above the sky. And I've also seen different types of air taxis, some autonomous even they're looking at, and electric run. So that's an exciting feat. Maybe even, the good old electric car, we're looking into that. Maybe San Joaquin County needs more electric charging stations in the area, or maybe we need more incentives to get people to drive electric than before. And then there is autonomous freight. So I talked about autonomous vehicles where self-driving cars. This would be self-driving freight trucks, meaning what would this do to our goods movement? Would this be a more efficient way to transport our goods if all the freight were in their own line, traveling at the same speed? So it's just, these are all the different technologies, and there's probably more in the study, but here are just a few to look at. Now, moving on, we've talked about what the RTP is. We talked about regional studies happening in the area. And now, what are ways to get involved, and what is the outreach currently being done? So we have the mini grant program, and we started this off at our last round in our 2018 RTP, and we have done it again for the second time as we enter this new cycle of the RTP. And so basically we provide mini grants for local community organizations that will help with our RTP SCS outreach. The grant this year was about $5,000. And so the main goal of this is to extend our reach. You think about people that are in your areas of influence, and this just helps broaden our feedback from the community, because we have our area of influence, but you might know 10 more people than I do, and so on and so forth. It's just connecting more of the community together, and it also helps hit some of the populations that are vulnerable or maybe are less engaged. And so it helps us, again, create that diverse breadth of perspective. And we want to engage the community more in our planning efforts. Just even beyond the RTP itself, we want people to know what's happening and how are these plans affecting my community, my region, because ultimately it will. It is the base of the San Joaquin County's regional transportation plan. So we really want people to understand what's going on and feel like they have a stake in it too, that they feel like they can be involved and empowered to speak and say, like, these are my priorities and this is what I'd like to see in my region. Yeah. So that is why we do the mini grant program. And right now, I'm shameless. We are trying to get as many community members to take our survey. So we have two versions of it. We have the English version, which is envision2050.metroquest.com, or we have the Spanish version, which is envision2050-espanol.metroquest.com. And so we are really trying to get as many comments and feedback as we can from the public as soon as possible, especially for our English survey. So our English survey will end June 30th, which is coming around the corner. So please share with community members to get people's comments, because again, we really want the community to be involved and tell us what their priorities are for this plan. For the Spanish version of the survey, we have a little bit more time. Comments will need to be submitted for the Spanish version until August 1st. So June 30th for the English version and August 1st for the Spanish version. Please share. We have a lot of social media. Going on to my next, how to get involved right now. With the pandemic happening, we cannot do physical outreach. So please follow our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, reshare, like, love, comment. I don't think you can necessarily subscribe. We don't have a YouTube, well, we do have a YouTube page as well, but we keep updated on all of our social media. And so please follow us and reshare everything. Any further questions that you have outside of this webinar? Maybe you're like, oh, I didn't ask that one question that I wanted to. Please email rtp@sjcog.org. You can also call my work phone at 209-235-0563. But that's all I have right now. This was meant to be a fairly short webinar to get people, to see what is going on in the community, all while, maybe munching on some lunch. So at this point, I will open it up to any comments at the moment. And Haley, do we have any comments?
No, it doesn't look like we have any in the chat.
Well, if nobody has any comments, I will making sure. I will end our webinar today. But again, if you have any questions, if they just hit you later on, feel free to email rtp@sjcog.org. Thank you all for coming. We'll have this recorded and available on our Facebook page to share.